Hey everybody, it's Debbie with the Turner Real Estate Network. Happy Friday. We made it through another week here in Manatee County with crazy real estate going on. And we have a special guest today here, George Cruz. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so 15 minutes goes by really fast and there's so many things that we can talk about. So I just want to dig right in. Can you just tell us a little bit about your company, Pursuit CRE, and what you do over there?
Sure. Pursuit CRE is a vertically integrated, predominantly multifamily company. It is a brokerage for the state of Florida purposes. I have a broker license, and we don't list anything. What we predominantly do with it is assist investors and buyers looking for workforce housing, transitional assets on the multifamily side. But we also have a finance arm, Pursuit Finance, that focuses on short-term bridge, 12 to 36 months. Someone may be buying a multifamily property, needs to put $10,000 per unit in, fix it up, make it safe for the families who live there. That's financing that I can offer. It's technically nationwide, but predominantly state of Florida. And on the third side, which hasn't formally been launched yet, but it was in process before I decided to run for office, is Pursuit Impact, which is going to be, because I have every intention of doing it, a social impact capital fund to acquire naturally occurring affordable housing. Your property's built in the 60s and 70s. Maybe they're slightly obsolete, but very well located. And people need a safe place to live for themselves and their kids. And our intention is to acquire them, provide services, and keep them affordable.
Wow, that's great. I mean, I know nothing about that world. I'm, residential real estate, but I know the numbers that I've seen the last couple of years in the people that are moving to Florida. COVID hasn't slowed any of that down. They're still coming. I think it's still up around 902 people a day are moving. It feels like a lot of them are moving to this area. And a lot of people are moving their businesses here too. So sometimes the executives can afford some of the housing that we have around here. But as you said, people that are coming here to work or that are in the hospitality industry, they need something that's a little bit more affordable. So I'm really happy to hear that your company is helping people realize those dreams too, because there's space for everybody here,
There is, and that's part of the problem. We're trying to attract more businesses. We have a very cyclical economy right now. It's very heavily focused on tourism and service industry and things of that nature, which are typically lower wage jobs, and it keeps people from living here. And people want to talk about our infrastructure and our roads. But part of the problem isn't just that we don't have adequate roads, is we have too many cars on them, because a lot of people who work here live in South Pinellas. They live in DeSoto. They live in Ruskin and Apollo Beach. And then they all have to clog up our roads getting here because we can't provide them adequate places to live nearby. And so when our EDC and our chamber goes out and tries to recruit companies, we don't have the workforce to encourage those companies to come here. And we've got great higher education. We got SCF. We have USF, we have New College, we have all these colleges here. But as soon as they graduate, they move to Orlando or move to St. Pete or move to Tampa, because it's a chicken and egg situation. And I think if we can keep people here, if we can show somebody that there's a cost of living that's reasonable for them to stay in Manatee County, then that will start broadening out our economy and allowing tech companies and finance companies to come here, because they know they've got a skilled workforce. So affordable housing isn't just about affordable housing. It transcends just simply finding some place for someone to live. It goes into how to broaden our economy. It goes into our school system, which is rated B, whereas Sarasota is rated A. Well, part of that is my kids are both in the school system, and every year a couple of their teachers leave in the middle of the school year because they all live in Pinellas, and all of a sudden they say, "Hey, wait, I can just get a job in Pinellas. Why am I driving 45 minutes to an hour over the Skyway every day?" Well, if we can keep them here, if we can provide them reasonable places to live, that improves our school system, which improves the property values. So it's beneficial to everybody by providing this. People want to say, "Oh, you're just subsidizing housing," or this has no effect on me. There's a lot of NIMBYism going on. But it's not just about providing somebody a place to live. It's truly for the benefit of the entire community.
I can't agree more. Yeah, and that's the thing is you can travel anywhere in the world. I know we were in Barcelona last year, and the tourism there, they've really kind of shut down some of the cruise ships and stuff coming in there because what it's doing is the tourism that's going there. It's forcing the people that are in the hospitality and stuff. They have to drive 30 and 45 minutes away to find housing, and they don't like it. And so they become unfriendly, and we definitely don't want that in our friendly city of Manatee.
We do not. We do not.
No. So what else? What are some of the other things that are going on? I know you probably have some inside scoop. Is there anything exciting that's getting built or anything going around that you can air on our little show here today?
There's a lot getting
Anything
built. Housing hasn't slowed down at all.
No.
I know people talk about potential recessions. This isn't 2008. A lot of people want to keep relating what we're going through now with 2008 and 9. I was in finance 2009. I've been in finance my whole life. But that was a fundamental break in the financial system and fundamental break in the real estate system. This is not that. This is unemployment, and it's terrible, and we need to fix it. But people are still moving here. And if anything, more people are moving here because nobody wants to live in cities. Well, not nobody, but people are starting to move away from the urban core centers and looking at places like Manatee County. And prior to this, there was a UF study that said 8,000 to 10,000 people were going to come here. Well, that's something we need to consider, because there's two ways we can handle that. We can understand how supply and demand works and build appropriately and hopefully sustainably and inclusively to accommodate those 8,000 to 10,000 people. Or we don't, which just means our housing prices and our rents are going to go through the roof. And that's what we saw in 2008, because there was no financing available. And because of that, we almost had a unintentional moratorium on development, because nobody could develop anything. They couldn't afford to, because they couldn't get financing. And that's when you started seeing our rents go up and our housing prices go up. And it's continuing today because we're just not meeting demand. And we can't stop people from moving here. And we have a private property rights state. And so I don't think it's going to slow down. I mean, you're in real estate. You see it. I mean, people are still looking to buy here. People are still looking to move here. And if we don't match that supply and demand, we're going to have a problem. But that doesn't mean it has to endlessly be single family homes out in northeast Manatee County or out east in Manatee County. There are ways of matching that supply and demand in different ways. Not saying those aren't important as well. Some people want to live in a subdivision. Some people want an acre or 5 acres for their house, and that's great. We need to provide that. But we can also be focusing on infill locations. We can be focusing on our existing infrastructure that's already in place, our existing services that are already in place, our existing employment bases that are already in place, and providing housing there by providing incentives to developers and say, yeah, I know you want to build on that farmland up in Parish, but how about if I give you a little more density or a little less parking restriction or a little benefit? None of this is taxpayer related. It's strictly just getting out of the way. It's releasing regulations and telling somebody, hey, you could build 3 stories over there, but what if I let you build 5 stories over there? And encourage that development, because at the end of the day, again, it's supply and demand, and it's rooftops and it's housing units. And it doesn't matter where they're located. But if we put them closer to infrastructure, we put them closer to employment bases near, like for instance, downtown, like an urban core. Now you have people walking to work. You have people walking to a vibrant downtown and going out to a Bricks and going out to Oak and Stone. You're just creating a better overall environment. You're still matching the supply and demand without endlessly taking up land, as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, and I think there's a real hunger for that too. I mean, people want that. You can see, as soon as something new pops up, it has instant flooding of people coming to check it out. And there's definitely consumers here that want all these things. They want more restaurants. I know, we're kind of dying for them out our way on 64. Seems like every time we turn around, there's either a new gas station or a new bank or pharmacy, and it's like, we need more restaurants, please.
You don't tell me. I live in Greyhawk, and we get a new bank every 6 months, and we have Wolf Shed.
I know. I wonder what's going on in there.
We got a Taco Bell. We thought was the greatest thing we've ever seen.
I know, right? I know. That's what my kids are happy about too. It's like, oh, these little miracles. So,
but it is, and that's the thing. I mean, but retail follows rooftops, not vice versa. You don't build near retail because retail doesn't exist until the rooftops are sufficient. That's why Publix waits until homes are built, and then they put a new Publix in. Sometimes within a mile of each other. But if you get an adequate number of rooftops in a central location, sort of like Sarasota. Sarasota never had a grocery store downtown until they started putting condos in there, and Rosemary District started coming up. Now there's a Publix on 41. There's a Whole Foods downtown.
Yeah,
you gotta put the rooftops in, but if you put them in the right place, like I said, God willing, if we can get our hands on DeSoto Square Mall, for instance, and be able to do something meaningful with that, and we can look at some of our existing land in the CRA areas and along in the urban core, you could put a lot of people there, and you can put people in reasonably priced units, because I said this, it was in SRQ magazine. Developers want to make money, and I love people who want to make money. You can't deal with stubbornness, but you can deal with, lack of a better term, greed. If I told a developer they can build 2 500 square units or square foot units for the same impact fees, same parking ratio, same density, 2 500 square foot units, and they could charge $800 a month. Every teacher, every police officer, every young professional can afford that. If they can build a 1,000 square foot unit in the exact same envelope for the same price and charge $1,200 a month, which makes it less affordable, well, they're going to build me my 2 500 square foot units because they're making $1,600 a month versus $1,200 a month. It's in their best interest. And it didn't cost me a penny. It didn't cost you or any of the taxpayers a penny. There's no subsidy on this. It's just releasing regulation for the greater good, and it's going to work out for our entire community.
I can agree more. Wow, I love hearing this. I love hearing your passion. I love, I think it's really important for anybody that's watching when it comes time to cast your vote to talk about, the importance of a real estate background in an elected position that you're going for. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Well, I mean, we don't have anybody with a real estate background on this board. We have people with planning experience, and that's great, and that's important because that's something that the commission deals with. But in terms of a finance-related real estate background, we all know, whether it's the land use meetings or just general meetings, it's a hot topic. It's always brought up in front of the board, and the board has to make the right decision. And we're too often just looking at it at a 10,000 square foot level. I mean, or 10,000 foot level. We're looking at it from a macro standpoint. We don't have anyone who truly understands real estate. Someone who says, hey, I've done deals, and I'll be the first to admit, that have completely failed. That I financed something, I'm like, why did we do that? That was terrible. And I financed, fortunately, way more deals that were very successful. I've seen the good and the bad. I've seen what works, not just from a project level, but from a community level. And that's something that we need on the board, because it's such a critical job and a critical component of what the board does, to be able to say, hey, let's take a step back here. Let's just not look at the comp plan or the future land use. Let's look at how this impacts the community as a whole. Let's see how this impacts the neighbors. Let's see if this makes logical sense for Manatee County. And I'll be the first. Look, everyone knows I'm pro development. It's my background. I wouldn't have a job if there wasn't development. But I'm also pro reasonable development, and I have pushed back on projects. I push back on projects publicly, and people know that, because they just didn't make logical sense. And that's important on this board, because I can be a voice for all the developers, for all the communities, and talk to the other commissioners and say, hey, I've seen something like this. This isn't my first rodeo here. I know that this isn't going to work, or I know this is going to work. And I can be a sounding board for the rest of the commission.
Wow. Well, I think that's great. And I agree with everything that you said. And for people that are watching, of course, I have a personal stake in real estate, progress. But let's face it, that's what keeps the economy going. If people are buying houses, that means they're buying furniture to put in those houses. They're buying the new car to put in the driveway. They're doing additions. They're knickknacks, dishes, everything. It just kind of all runs. They need services. They need somebody to mow the grass, clean their pools. So we all know that if real estate's popping, the economy is going to be popping too. So if you're watching, everybody, let's elect George Cruz. His website's on the bottom. Please, you've got 4 votes in our house, George. So we're behind you, and maybe we'll have you on again when it gets a little bit closer. And I really enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, everybody.
It's 18 days, so I can't get too much closer.
I know. Maybe we will, just right before, just one more little kickoff. So anyways, well, thanks everybody for watching, and have a good weekend.
Well, thank you very much, Debbie.